got to get me composure. I've lost my composure.
Composure, man.
Right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Fix. Oh, God, wait a minute. Give us a minute. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Neil Pickup, the Fat Lad, with you here in the mother fluffing house. I'm joined, as always, by Raimonds, Liepins, the Rolls Royce of arm wrestling, and the one and only Ryan Blue Bowen. Odd job, Bobber job, man. There he is. I wonder, that arm is getting bigger, Ryan. He's definitely coming on. You know. Look at that.
Ryan, are you the strongest arm wrestler in your house?
Not tonight. Not tonight. Oh.
Look at that. Look, I'll tell you what, we had a much better intro lined up than that.
Yeah, we gotta tell the truth on the intro that Neil Pickup was trying to peer pressure us into doing.
Yeah. And bear with me here. This would have been funny.
Awesome.
Right. Wouldn't it have been funny?
Yes.
What was the intro?
I'm alone. If I would have someone, I would do it 100%, but I'm alone.
100%.
Oh, mate, you've got
You too. 100%.
Yeah.
For the team.
My suggestion for the intro to the show was that Ryan had been led back on his porn sofa there in Brisbane. We'd see him and Ray in the shot. I'd intro the show, and then suddenly Jordan would pop up from off his lap.
20 minutes.
Wife was over there doing some training. Oh, but he wouldn't do it with the camera running. Anyway, guys, welcome to The Fix. How's it hanging?
Oh, right. Good to be here. And the question, how's it hanging after that discussion and the intro? Jeez, Neil. Come on.
Yeah, I'm mate. I must admit. Well, I know you guys are close, but also it's not that kind of party. But at least you're sporting the Vector T-shirt. And just for the purposes of self-promotion, where can people get their very own Vector T-shirts?
pound-for-pound-armwrestling.com is where it's at.
Get in there. Get the Vector shirt. And also, if you want to see more of this young man, the Rolls Royce of arm wrestling, where can people come and check out your stuff, mate?
Oh, I got so many Rolls Royce comments after the last show. Like, everyone's, like, dropping Rolls Royce.
It's virus. Everybody knows the Royce.
Yeah. It's a good brand for you, man. I think it's a perfect brand for you. You need to embrace it and get the shirts out there soon. I want 3 at least.
Yeah. Get them out. In time for the Fix Live, that is what we need. The Rolls Royce of arm wrestling. Get a picture. You can do loads of stuff with the Rolls Royce, can't you? They've got different models, you know.
Did you see Ray share the Instagram story with the Rolls Royce, and he made me the speed bump that got left behind?
I laughed so hard. I'm like, how did this happen? Funny.
I wonder how that happened. Anyway, Ray, I'm going to start with you this week, mate. Because you've been very active. You've had a project which you mentioned on last week's show, and I'm very impressed with it. And I know Ryan is as well, because I saw your post on this. And for those of you who have not seen this fabulous, and I'm going to say a fabulous piece of work that Ray has put together about the perfect storm, Johnny B.
Mini documentary.
It's mega, mate. Yeah, it's mega, isn't it? You did a great bit, and it's really, I mean, tell us about it, Ray. How did this come about? Tell us the background and tell us what you've done.
It's like, the background was, people don't know their history. That is the thing. Like, the new fans don't really understand anything about the sport, and they just see the guy who's winning now, and he's the greatest of all time. And it's like, there's so many arguments why John is the greatest arm wrestler of all time. So, I had the idea at the start of the week. I contacted Engin and I said, I remember in the middle of summer you were posting a lot of stuff about John, like accomplishments, things like that. Can I take those? He's like, I'm going to write you a new one. He writes me stuff. I research stuff. I talk with other people. So I put it all together. Like, the script took me 3 days to make, but the hardest part was the voiceover. I hate my voice so much. And I don't have a professional, like, the setup. I was recording with this, and it took a lot of time, but the end result, like I was very happy with like respected people in community, like you guys, like telling me like this is awesome, and I'm like that's the best thing I was hoping for, because I don't really care what the new fan, average fan thinks. I really care what the people who has been does the justice, does it tell the story, like the greatness about John Brzenk, and in comments and response to video was perfect. I'm very happy. I hope it will stick, and I hope people will find it when they search for the greatest in the sport. And I have already knew like about some other people who have been forgotten in our sport. I'm gonna make new videos, and I think I need to do this a little bit more now, so I'm gonna focus on these kind of videos. But I got a lot of comments where people are saying, well, like, you know, their arguments like, okay, but Levin can be the greatest, you know, in the future, or Devon can be the greatest. And I said, okay, if we look about like the accolades that make the GOAT, you know, you need to beat all of them. You cannot just beat one thing that John did and say you're the greatest. You know, if Levin is still 20, 30 years dominant, not losing, you know, something out of the world, that's a good argument. But it's now, you know, so people don't really understand the criteria for the GOAT, you know. Everyone who's been in a sport, and like I was watching so much John stuff and videos and interviews and movies and everything while making that, and I'm like, this man was like a painter, you know. Every match, you know, like the next video I'm gonna spoil it because I'm gonna make about like technical things. I didn't talk so much about his arm wrestling as much as about his legacy. So I'm gonna talk about his arm wrestling. And if you look, like Engin makes great list about best top rollers, best hook pullers. And if you look at the videos, you can find where John has beaten them in their game, you know, which instances. And who can do that? Not a lot of people can do that, you know. Some people will do. John has done it consistently, and his hook and top roll was the same level of press. Yeah,
it's a difficult thing for Levin, particularly, to be able to get into that conversation at the same.
He's big.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, you start at the start of your piece, you say the fact that he was called Giant Killer. He was known as the Giant Killer for a long period of time, and the fact that the guy was walking around pulling at, you know, 187 pounds, 85 kilos for a lot of his career, and was still able to contest matches against the all-time super heavyweight greats, the likes of Gary Goodridge.
How are you going to beat that? Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, that is difficult to get into that persona. Who else at middleweight's done that?
I like when you look at him as a middleweight, or look at him as a light heavyweight, and say, even if you just block out what he did in supers, which is another story in itself. Engin said it the other day. If John wins the top 8, which he may well do next year, he may well win the 95 kilo top 8. He will have been the dominant athlete spanning 5 decades in his weight class. 5 decades of being the top dog in your weight class in the world.
and not only in your weight class, in arguably the weight class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's funny, a minute ago you said, regardless of what he did at super heavyweight. The funny thing is, he never was a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
He was heavyweight at best.
But he did lot there.
He did lot there. Yeah. You know, but he was never big. A lot of, you know, Engin was on the other day and he said, oh, Neil, where do you think, if you had to sort of pinpoint John's absolute peak, where would you put it at? And it's kind of difficult to do that, isn't it? But, I mean, you know, the consensus opinion from Engin, a lot of the guys, was around 2006, and it's fair to say that he was extremely strong then. There's no doubt about it. He had times when he was extremely strong there. But the funny thing is, if you chart back what he weighed at that time, it was like 230, 225, 230, never really got above that. That's not big. It's by modern heavyweight standards. You know, Jesus Christ, Alex Kadech's leg. Where's that?
Yeah.
And John always says that the 1980s version of him he fears that version more than the strong version of John in 2006. So it's always interesting.
Faster, explosive.
Yeah.
What Ray said was that, you know, in John's, you know, throughout his whole career, he didn't just, you know, sit in one league. He went everywhere. faced everyone
in their country.
Yeah, wherever they were, he'd have that match. That's something that we don't see a lot of today, and that's what we want to see more of. So I think that to John is a huge credit, and that to me makes it even bigger of a deal that was the greatest.
If Levan starts turning up in Arkansas to take on Michael Todd, and then he starts going all over, then it starts to look like they're at least trying to do that. Yeah.
One of the points you make in the video is around the body of work. Evidence around the body of work, how well travelled you were. You put yourself everywhere and anywhere. And there's been arm wrestlers that have done that. Came to notoriety because of the fact that they'd show up, on your doorstep and they'd be ready to go. And John did that, and he did that in so many areas and so many leagues. Win, lose, or draw. You start doing that, and you're right there in the conversation. As I say, it doesn't necessarily have to win all the time. It's just the fact that you were there, right in the mix at that elite level for that long, so consistently. And the coolest thing about all of it is, knowing John like I do, one thing I can attest to is that he's a lazy bastard. Lazy bastard. In terms of sort of work ethic, I love John, he's ace, but God damn, he's a lazy bastard. Yeah. He's not the guy that's going working at the gym for hours and hours a day. He'll do 20 minutes and go and get an ice cream.
Yeah. Getting
what he will do, armless.
Getting table time with John, in my experience, has been you're at his place for a week and you get at best 15 minutes out of him a day. 15 minutes, and that's like that's cracking the whip on him.
But now, back in the day, he'd pull, but the fact that he attained all that expertise and level of knowledge from competing at a high level, putting himself everywhere in the mix with everyone at any time, and he just crafted this masterpiece of technical genius that he had from right there at the coalface. You know what I mean? It wasn't from anything else other than being in the mix and coming up with the battle scars. But after that period of time, when he'd done it for so long, he was a fabulous arm wrestler to watch. I mean, you watch some of the, one of my favourite matches is when he pulls Johnny Walker, Yukon Jack, and I want to say it was probably 94 or 5, 94. Maybe 95 New York. 94. Was it 94? But
I think I know the video you're talking about. Yeah, I can see the video.
Yeah, I was at the show, so I was watching it live at the time. But I remember they hit into a hook, just jammed into the hook, stopped for a second, and then silk smooth reversal into a top roll and pin from John. And it was and you need to know how strong Johnny Walker was. I mean, I know Johnny was in the twilight of his career then, but he was still a friggin' animal, And it was just silky smooth. It was just what he did. Another day at the office. And I used to admire that about John. Used to admire that range and the ease of which he'd go through the gears, the ease of transition, the smooth transitions. It's only like when you watch a fighter or you watch anybody who's good at any sport to that level. I love to watch someone who's truly at home in what they're doing. It's just like, makes things that, against that level of competitor, is not an easy thing to do, look like it's a walk in the park, just because of fluidity. And that's great. I love that,
I've always been a fan of dominant champions in any sport. I'm a fan of, I wanted Roger Federer to win just continuous Grand Slams. So Tiger Woods go and do it all. And John, I actually think John is statistically, I feel like he's the most dominant athlete in the history of sport. I could be wrong. I'm ignorant on plenty of sports, but in my personal search of stats, I don't see anyone more dominant than him.
He's up there, isn't he?
Mm. Yeah, I want to like the comments, I get mostly good comments, but some are like people don't really understand. So they're like, oh yeah, but he lost to this guy and then he lost to this guy. Okay, John competed on highest level more than 10 times every year. Like, he had multiple super matches in a year. He went to every competition, and you go to competition, Travis Bagent is there, Ron Barrett is there, Devon Larratt is there, and he competed without stopping. If you look at guys now, they have one super match, they rest 6 months. They have one super match, they rest 6 months. So imagine if John would live like that, you know. I don't think he would have lost, you know. He would be prepared, he would be fresh.
Yeah, right.
The argument even better.
John said to me when he was preparing for the 2020 version of Top 8, he said to me, I've never fully prepared for a super match in my life. And he said, I'm going to fully prepare for this one. And I think what you were saying there was touching on the point. He never felt like he was completely rested and prepared for a moment. It was always... He just
felt he could take anyone.
Yeah.
He just felt like, I don't care, any day of the week, doesn't matter. That's the vibe I get from watching every match.
Is the beatdown just rolling into training version almost?
Yeah.
I'll be there next day.
Gonna try this. Doesn't work. We'll see. You know.
Anyone, anywhere is the motto, innit? Anyone, anywhere. Didn't matter where you want to go. You'd match anyone in any position on the table. Everybody brings an ace. You know, all the top arm wrestlers in the world haven't got there by luck. They've got there because they've got an ace. They've got something that they've got a special move. You know. And John would meet you on that special move. And it was quite cool when he did. It was like, you know, obviously he was a wanker when he did that. But, you know, he'd beat in his and you'd be like, in the words of that man, I love you, but I fucking hate you. It's one of my favourite WAL quotes in the history of, in fact, probably best quotes of all time when he said that. I love Matt Mass comments. But I'll tell you what, John was cool as hell for that. He would beat you where you wanted to be. The famous match with Farid Usmanov, or Farid Osmanli as he is now, in 2006. You know, privileged position to be calling the match, and obviously John coming up. He literally walked up to me in between rounds. He said, hey, you know, what's the difference between first and second? I said, I don't know, just ask him at the desk. So he walked over the desk. How much is it? It's like $200-300. And then he's like, oh, okay. So he turns around, Farid, he goes, you want to go in a hook?
Oh, man.
I mean, that's quality. And I just remember thinking...
Poster of that match in the gym behind the table.
Yeah. It's just great, that, isn't it?
It's a killer match, yeah. So, if you haven't seen it, Voice of Arm Wrestling, not Rose of Arm Wrestling, but still Rose of Arm Wrestling.
That was a good little promo, man. This wasn't even the talking points of the show,
but 20 minutes.
Yeah, where Jordan should have popped up about now. Nobody said. Hey, it would have been, honestly, we had it planned out. You killed it, Jordan. That was your shot, mate. It's gone down in legend had you done that. It would have been great. I mean, your wife would have. Well, you know. Anyway.
Finished going down. That's the issue.
Jordan, I don't like to put anybody on the spot, son. We have a tradition here on the face that when you come on the show, you don't have any jokes. You got a joke, Jordan? Because I'll tell you what it is, mate. You can't do any worse than Ryan did. Because I told a joke which I think was fantastic a few weeks ago.
I'm just going to say 7.9%, you just didn't get it.
You be thinking of that. We're going to come back to that. You be thinking, if at any point...
Right, go on.
Right. Go on, Ray. Here we go.
Okay, just, you know, I'm translating in my mind, so okay. So...
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Whenever we go serious.
Rabbit is running through the woods. He's running. He sees there's a wolf sitting on a bench, and he's gonna smoke a joint. He's making a joint. He's like, hey, wolf, like, put that shit away, you know? Let's run, get some fitness in, stay healthy. Wolf thinks, he's like looking at the rabbit, looks at the joint, looks at the rabbit, looks at the joint, throws the joint away. They're running together, so they're running through the woods. They go see Giraffe. Giraffe is like sitting by the... Giraffe in the woods, yeah, it's multicultural. Sitting by the tree, and she's gonna put a needle in her arm, and she's like, Rabbit's like, okay, throw that shit away, you know, you don't need it. Let's be healthy. Let's, you know, just run, be healthy and do things. And Giraffe thinks and throws the needle away. They're running all together now. They see a bear. Bear is sitting there. He's making a line with Coca-Cola. And he's like, Rabbit like, hey man, you don't need that. Just throw it away. Let's run. Let's be healthy. Fitness, everything. Wellness, blah, blah, blah. Bear sits, he looks at the line, he looks at the rabbit, looks at the line, looks at the rabbit, punches Rabbit in the face. And they're like, hey, like Giraffe and Wop, like, why are you doing this? He wants us to be healthy. He's like, he wants to run every time he's on speed.
Oh my God.
No, nothing, no.
And he gives me stick.
No.
That's like my level of joke, that Ray. I think I'll write that down. Tell you what, Ray.
Oh, man.
That was
I gotta go and get some speed.
People tune into this show, they think they're just going to get arm wrestling. No. You got comedy.
So much more.
That's it, mate. And the Rolls Royce they're delivering. You've got some balls, you have. I'll give you that. You have got some balls. So, Ryan, there's a vicious rumour going round.
Oh,
right?
Which one?
Started by you, I think. That I got a few messages, and I'm going to read one. No, I'm not. I'm going to read it from this phone. It's not over there. It's over here.
Do I need to put these on?
And I'm sure that they know this because I'm pretty sure it was you that put it out. Here we go. Neil, got a question for you and the guys at The Fix. Love the show. Keep up what you're doing. Did you know that Ryan trained with the Gold Coast Club and lost 3 matches the other day? Is this true? No, get this. Many of these guys are amateurs. I think he's losing his touch, or what you said to him on the show the other week may be true, and his elbow and shoulder are giving him serious trouble.
It
could be one. Yeah, and he's put smiley face or laughy face. Thought it could be one you can raise on the show to give Ryan a bit of a grounding moment. Grounding moment.
Grounding.
That is not. It's not how you spell grounded.
How much money do you lose? How much
my
money
goodness!
Are you in debt now?
That's a genuine comment. Yeah, that's genuine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been sent over to me. But wasn't it you that put that out there? Because I haven't watched the clip. But I saw something come up on Instagram where you'd given a dude a 50, hadn't you?
Yeah. Dora Katai. We got this killer in Brisbane that he took the 50 off me. I guess it means I should probably retire. I don't know. Like I'm basically done.
What? Done.
This wasn't a match though. It's training, surely, wasn't it?
It is training.
Well, is there a difference? Is there a difference, guys?
I don't know who it was who made the comment, but it's a really interesting thing, the perceptions, and this ties into what Angam was been saying lately. What the reason why Ray had to do the video about John is the difference in understanding who is who in the sport. To someone who's never been an arm wrestler, it's very hard to understand the pressures of what's going on between elites, between amateurs, between men and women, whatever the variation. I get more credibility for beating big novices than I do for having a war with Jordan in any training. If I have a war with Jordan, people are like, hang on, how come you can't beat that guy when you could beat that 6'4" novice so easily? I think the majority of people watching the sport in the Larry Wheels kind of category, the fans of those people, genuinely have no idea how much force is in a match. They just can't perceive it. And so $50. I put $50 on the table just to create some fun content, saying whoever's the first person to pin me in this training session gets the 50. And we just train.
How often do you go to clubs and you get pushed?
So, yeah.
How many guys in Australia outside of Danny Tesh, Jordan, who we know, I don't know why Ray laughed at that. It's really cruel.
In the Brisbane club, it's Lachlan and Jordan who legit, if we had it ready to go, may win. In Sydney, there's Mario Tembakis. So there's only one guy that may win in Sydney. In Victoria, there's Brett Coots and young Andrew Lee that may win. Everyone else is not in the conversation. In South Australia, it's Gunter Zbykovs, no one else. In WA, it's Ryan Scott, Ben Carroll, no one else. So there's realistically, the worst rank I could possibly be in Australia is like 7. The best I could be is probably 3 at the moment, realistically. Mm-hmm. But everyone else is...
Who's number 1 then at the moment? It's Laughlin, yeah?
Think? It's... Jordan's heading for it. If Jordan gets to 100 kilos, I'm money on him. But number 1 on paper...
You could take Laughlin, you reckon, Jordan?
It's... right. It's for the same reasons that when I had my training super match with Lachlan, that I took rounds off him. He beat me 4-2 that night. Yeah. Jordan's got those same killer instincts in the setup, the same ability to deny stuff.
About the pussy. Right. That was an extreme close-up of a pussy. You don't get that in many shows, do you?
I got the new cat.
But yeah,
you got a new cat.
Yeah.
It is a new one. What happened to the black cat? You didn't run that over, did you?
Black sleeping on the floor right there. And
okay.
This is Ryan Bowen cat, Ginger.
I want to actually bring up a topic if we can.
I've got one we're going to go into off this in a second, mate, because that segues wonderfully. What you've just been saying there segues wonderfully. This is from Scott241, and he said, guys, new to the sport of arm wrestling, I'm quite short, 5'8", quite heavy, 220 pounds.
Yeah, right.
I've always been told, right now. Yeah, I've always been told that my physique lent itself to arm wrestling and being good in the sport. However, guys like Devon Larratt couldn't be farther from my own physical form. Is it better to be tall or is it better to be short? Thoughts, please. I'd love to hear what you, Ryan, and Ray think.
It's better to be strong. Who cares? And it's not, everyone's like, Devon Larratt. Devon is a heavyweight and now maybe even super heavyweight. If you're short and you don't have to go to that category to be great or to be good. It's that people are always thinking like, I'm 4'2". Can I beat Levin? I'm too short, I guess. Yeah, but maybe you're not too short for 55 kilo class, man.
It's actually one of the things I love most about the sport is I think it's one of the rare sports in the world where anybody can actually succeed. And when I say anybody, I'm saying any body shape. Any body shape can win. You can do it. Just look at Sasha Andreev style. Like, that dude is not tall. I don't know how tall he is, but it's not a lot. And he's multiple world champion in his weight category. Then Vitaly Latvian, this guy, you look like a praying mantis beanpole when you started. I think if you had thrown a loaf of bread at him, he would have broken, like when he started.
Pretty close.
So, the full range, doesn't matter what you got. Yeah. It's how to use it, discover how to use it, and then get strong in those things. I
think if you've got the good fortune to have the physical gifts, the structural gifts that you would need to be able to apply the technique that suits your physicality, then you're a lucky person. So if we talk about someone like Sasho, if you look at Sasho's style, it's extremely side pressure heavy. If you didn't have extraordinarily strong joints, structural strength in that respect, then you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to apply that kind of force that without getting some kind of serious injury. A question we had a couple of weeks ago, which I think I sent to the group, was something along the lines of, and forgive me, I can't remember who the bloody hell sent this. We were going to get it in, but we had Jeff on and we didn't get through the questions. But somebody had said there, if you could design the perfect arm wrestler using elements of the top arm wrestlers of today or yesteryear, whose bits would you pick? It's quite an interesting one, really, isn't it? Because some of them, contradict each other a little bit. So I think it's having enough strength to be able to apply the technique which best suits you. Because you can be the tallest guy in the world, and if you've not got good back pressure and you've got a weak wrist, you're not going to be a great top roller. No. So you've got to have, if you're a really tall guy who has a natural propensity to develop wrist strength and back pressure, then yeah, your opportunities for success go. And explosivity. There's all these disparate elements that go to make up an arm wrestler. It's not just as simple as, oh, you're told you'll be strong as shit in a top row. It's not that simple.
Big biceps.
What about you? Because you didn't start strong.
No, gosh no. I didn't start strong at all. I learned technique first and then developed strength around that. So, like...
You're in Australia. I think if there was a poll done in Australia, you're voted as the best top roller in Australia. You took Gunther's Baikov's wrist when he tried the top roll you.
Yeah.
That says enough. And you didn't start strong. You started very weak. Genetically, you would never have thought.
Everywhere. I had no strength background, nothing like that. And 4 years in, I was going over to WAL for the Ocean, so.
You smacked that Mumble around him, didn't you?
Yeah. So, angry bird. Flew him out of the coop.
Oh, gosh.
Well, you guys have to start. Oh,
yeah. That's it. Somebody somewhere just lit a fire.
Always lighting fires. It's been a good pulse. Good pulse.
Can I make a comment? It's a little bit going back about like perception of what people have and like the ideas that people have. We had a training practice last week on Thursday, and I was arm wrestling with Giannis, and I remember I can beat him in practice, but I know like on ready go I have very low chances on beating him. He's too fast and he's too good. And I remember when I started to arm wrestle, like Giannis got me my first coaching job in 2012, I think. And we were training on table, and I was like thinking like, after 2 years, I'm gonna beat Giannis. So it's 8 years later, I still don't feel I can beat Giannis. I have beaten everyone else. It's not like Giannis has gotten weaker, and I'm closer to him now than I was. No, I gotten stronger, but just the gap, the distance, like between the super elite guys and everyone else is so incredible. It's people really don't understand this. Like if you go to the good club where you have world level arm wrestler, you will find like I don't know, let's say. I have guys that I can hold and control, and those guys can hold and control other guys, and it looks like it's like the guy who they are controlling cannot do anything, and the ladder goes up, like Raimonds can hold me and control me, and I cannot do anything, and then there's like I don't know, Normans who can hold Raimonds and control him, and he cannot do anything, and then there are guys that can hold Norm. And it goes like this, and people are always, their perception is very slim. They think like, okay, I will just lift a little bit more on my bicep and I can take them. And the super elites of the sports, which I really believe Giannis is, they have created, the gap is so much bigger. And if they're healthy, if they're strong, in my opinion, if they have done it naturally, it's very hard to get through them. It's like they will stay there long periods of time. This is why John, 56, and Ron Bat, I don't know how old he is. It's Engin, those guys are still there. It's still, if you take their hand and you'll think like, in 3 years I will do something. If they don't break their arm, you will not do anything. And that's the big difference of arm wrestling than any other sport. You can land a lucky punch sometimes, but the gap is so much bigger. Like, Artem made a poster, like, me versus Giannis, not a confirmed matchup, as a fun thing, Artem top roll, and I go and I click on the comments, and the comments are like, at what weight? And I'm like, at what, like, what's the difference? If Artem would go in there and beating heavyweights, beating everyone, like, fighting with everyone, okay, that's a conversation. But he's not. But people's perception is different. You're good.
Yeah.
But so
I think one of the key points there, Ray, is also that a lot of the guys in the sport are proficient in a certain area of the sport and never really have gone outside of that area in terms of where they've never got any move to complement the one that they've already refined. So they might be exceptional top roller, and 90% of the time, whether it be competition or training, they will utilize that technique. The guys that have really excelled in the sport, and a lot of the people that you mentioned as to being that level, have got just a wider range. So they're less easy to control for people, because if you dominate them in one area, they'll attack you in another area, and in most cases, they can find a weakness. I don't think the strength gap is necessarily as great as it may appear. It's just that at that level, once they get a bite on you, once they get control, they'll box you in and prevent you from making moves. They'll shut down your technique. It'll go dark on you very, very quickly.
Corner and
yeah, there's not that big a difference necessarily, I don't believe, in terms of actual physical strength. It's
coordination. It's everything else. It's how you apply the move. People forget that it's all about the coordination. It's all about coordination.
And it's
you
not
don't have coordination.
Apply the move. It's the timing of applying it. It's everything, you know.
Everything.
Well, you mentioned the strength difference. Todd Hutchins, when he came out to Australia, after he'd been competing for one season, I think, at that time, in the super heavyweights, and he said to me, you know, the supers aren't that much stronger than the middles. He's like, they're very human. It's just a little bit stronger. It's not that. And I remember him saying, like, no, I think I can take them. Like so. I think like you said, it's so much about derailing. I know Devin Larratt has said, I've heard him say it many times, arm wrestling is more about taking your opponent where they're not strong than it is about being strong yourself. So once you have a diverse set of skills that can do that to many opponents, and you're well rehearsed in those skills, then you feel impossible to someone who can't prevent you from doing that.
Yeah. It's like when I picked up Ray, like the first one, which wasn't in the video that Neil saw. You know, I went to top roll and I went, oh, okay, you know, you derail that top roll, all right. So I went to derail your press, and that, you know, it didn't seem like you had another option to go at that top. So
yeah.
And that's what you need, you know, other people need to realize, that if you're getting taken off your power, maybe you need to find another force to, you know, apply for, you know, those guys that can take you off your power. You know?
On the same topic speaking, like, Devon is the best guy about this. Every time he arm wrestles, guys are like, I could have taken him. I was so close. This guy was so close. Devon was working so hard. And the difference is like to the moon. You know, it's like, he makes it look like that. He worked, you know, it's, you know,
it's Devon's style, isn't it? It's what Devon gets better by going close to the fire. He goes as close to the fire as he can with everyone. Even if you're an amateur, he will go as close to the fire as he can with letting that amateur through the gate, and then he'll feel where the most efficient blocks are from there. And regardless of his strength level, that's how he treats you. I know that I've said to myself, next time I train with Devon, I'm going to request, I want to say, Devon, can you just bully center and deny me, like as if you are really scared of me? I want to feel what denial Devon feels like, as opposed to rubber band, let me in, and then have a go, Devon. But yeah, many fans perceive Devon to be a whole lot less than he actually is, and even the question about me on the Gold Coast, same thing. That I've modelled the way I train on the way Devon trains. I get a lot of value out of that as well, and you let people in for a while, you end up getting pinned, and cool, all good. But
if I was going to try and come back to the sport of arm wrestling, I mean, it's now coming up to 5 years since I trained for arm wrestling. Nobody could say that they've been on an arm wrestling table and practiced and trained with me in that period of time. You know, if they were to say, okay, well, we did 10 practice sessions, 5 practice sessions, just lying. I just haven't done that. For at least 5 years. But if I was ever going to come back into it and start to pursue the sport, my route into that would be just go out and get as many ass kickings as I possibly could. Go to clubs where there are a lot of guys and just let them jump all over you, and you will get shredded, smashed, beaten out of sight, feel like a bum. But if you already know, well, it's okay. That's what's going to happen. If you've prepped yourself to know that you'll get pasted for month after month after month. But after a year of pacings, you'd ground yourself again, you'd get back again. And through that period of time, you've got to be looking for, where's that application? Where's that application? It's like going through a sea and listening for the click.
Yeah.
It is literally that. You're listening, where is it, where is it, where is it? You might search for a long time with a lot of different people. What you're looking to do is to get so you know where that click is with a range of motion. So, okay, when I'm there, the click's here. It's just a couple of millimeters to the left, to the right, that's what you're looking for. That's what makes you a killer.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've been fortunate enough that I've had plenty of chance to travel, and that is when I'm at my happiest, when I feel I'm progressing most, is when I'm traveling and gripping up with 50 people I've never gripped before. It's so good to do that. So good. Gripping, I got to do it this year, gripping, I had my super match with Chance, and I pulled everyone in Florida. 2 days later I was at John's place, we had a big Arizona pull, pulled everyone, and just, there's nothing better than that. I feel like that's what makes me have the best chance of becoming the best arm wrestler I can be. And it's the approach that the whole Brisbane club takes constantly. You said before, learn to lose better. Learn to lose better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, mate, I've seen so many guys, and it's so easy. You can train in a gym and, you can go do big heavy back pulleys, you can do pull-ups with weight, you can do rope climbs, you can do bench press, arm curls, hammer curls, wrist curls, anything you want. And get to a pretty decent level at that, and then go and pull, and still get ripped to shreds and your ass handed to you. You'll be thinking, no way, that doesn't compute. I'm pretty strong in these. I've got to a decent level. If you're not arm wrestling, you're not going to be good at arm wrestling.
No.
You get to a level, but that level that Ray's talking about, that level where, it's somebody who's crisp and clean in terms of the technical prowess at that time, they will tear you a new one. You just won't have a cat in hell's chance. Because where you leave big holes, there are going to be big holes there. You've got to shut those holes up,
This all ties back to the start of the show, talking about John. This is why he was the GOAT.
Yeah. It is indeed. It is indeed. And the guy, and that's why also you find that guys may drift in and out of the sport, and they'll be at a peak for a while and then they'll drip out. Sometimes it may be because they're not as active on the table through injury, through whatever it may be. But that's to pull. And I'm going to make this point, to sort of get back to what the person said. If you design something, or design someone, I'm going to say it's better to be tall. I am going to say that. If you're looking, if everything else is equal, so if you're saying, okay, my structure is strong, my wrist is strong, my elbow is strong, my shoulder, everything else is strong, all the elements that you require to be a good arm wrestler are there, they're in place, I'm going tall all day. Mm-hmm. And why? Is because you've got a superior arc of motion and a superior range within that arc of motion.
But interestingly, the guy that the tall guy is most vulnerable to isn't the guy that's just a little bit shorter. It's the guy that's a lot shorter. I know you struggle against the real compact dude because you have to lower your arms so much.
Yeah, but I mean this in the nicest possible way. That's because Jordan isn't that strong. Mm-hmm. Jordan's the leverage guy, but he's not that strong.
No,
I'm talking about if you've got the strength. The strength's there in all areas. For example, Devon, who is really strong. Yep. He's the guy who'll jump into a press and is world class. He'll jump into a hook and he's right there. If you've got the opportunity to have all those boxes ticked, I'd say it's advantageous to be long than short because you're not chasing. You're not reaching. There aren't limitations. That's why I gave the no limits moniker to Devon. There aren't limitations. You can reach anyone. However big you go, you can get hold of them. And you can get hold of them at any point of that arc, however big they are. There's a tipping point.
I've always just felt that tall guys ultimately lend themselves to defensive pulling and short guys ultimately are boxed into offensive pulling.
I would agree with that comment in the main.
It's when I pull Jordan, I have to pin him now. If I try to outbleed him, it will not work.
No.
Yeah.
The only opportunity you would have to defeat that is if you were strong enough to prevent his A move.
Yes.
And had superior or matching endurance.
Yeah. Like Saplenkov beat Larry. Saplenkov was shorter than Larry, more compact puller, but he was just too strong, so he was able to just hold. But had the strength of being in a balanced zone, there would have been more, I guess, urgency from Dennis to get the pin.
And at that level, you don't have to be that much stronger. We're talking 5 pounds, 10 pounds of pressure. It's not this vast difference, and that sort of, if you're 5 kilos stronger in that area and you close your the position, it takes away exponentially more than it affords you from your opponent. You know what I mean? You suddenly get into your lane, and and they are in a terrible place. Once the wheels start to spin, the power loss is significant. It doesn't have to spin much. There's a great deal of loss. Yeah. And that's what you're looking at with arm wrestling. It's staying in the lane. That's why I like the opportunity that being tall gives. If you could, like I say, Jordan, you've got the world at your feet in many ways, or the world at your fingertips, whatever you want to say. But, that tall person, right there, that's where the magic is, ladies and gentlemen. You ask his missus.
What is the hand size difference? Can you hear it? Can you see the finger size difference?
Yeah. I must admit, mate.
I'm gonna not say how this looks.
Yeah, not good at it. Look on the bright side, Ryan. Think how small your dick would look with his hands.
You can't edit these videos anymore, Neil. You got to remember this.
Yeah. I might edit that. But no, joking aside, the if you're a guy that's relatively short, okay, but you've got a really long forearm and a massive hand, that's an advantage in itself. So it's
again,
not just
mucking around training with Jordan about a month ago, we took the elbow pad off to recreate Jordan having a short arm, yet still having the big hand. And holy dooly.
Please.
Can
we have the option to take the pad away in arm wrestling and just have like a chalk outline?
Because
arm wrestle.
So Jordan's arm, instead of being on this angle in the setup, is now on this angle in the setup. So his back pressure is better engaged, his side pressure was stronger, and he still had all the control of the hand. It literally was impossible to do anything when Jordan didn't have an elbow pad on for me. I was like, wow, all options are gone for me now. So I do agree, short arm, big hand is a mega combo.
Yeah. And look at Oleg Zoik.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't that the man was exceptionally tall, but what he did have was fabulous leverage. A massive hand, very good length of forearm because of that. And what he could do with it there was just, I'm not saying he's not strong, he's really strong. But he was significantly stronger in terms of how he felt to his opponent. Yeah. Because you can't get a bite on that kid.
Yeah.
You're like, where the hell is it? And how many times have you experienced that?
Yeah.
Like gripping him up felt like gripping a can of Coca-Cola with fingers.
Well, I got to face him. For me, the thing that I remember, I faced him opening match, left arm, my first ever WAF Worlds. I'm 2 years into the sport and I get drawn Oleg Zoc round 1. I was really happy because I wanted to experience that. And Oleg, I remember looking at Oleg's forearm against me, it was wider than the elbow pad in its entirety. I couldn't see an elbow pad there because the meat of his forearm was wider than the elbow pad itself. And phenomenal. And the hand, wow.
Oh.
Wow.
You can't get a bite on it.
Yeah,
you just can't,
What do you do with this?
I pulled Cleve Dean, in Italy. I can't even tell you. It's ridiculous. You felt like a little child wrestling your dad. Yeah. Just like, what the just massive length of forearm, hand thickness was off the scale. Your hand was open on the setup. You were like this. You were like, what the fuck? There's nothing you could do. It's just like, and it's not like he was even trying to run away. He just was that big. And I felt like, well, this is useless. Can't do anything. Can't physically. The issue was, it was you were trying to reach him, trying to get some kind of contact on him. You don't want that. You know, it's the worst thing you can possibly do. But you were praying for it. So I'd love to be able to just reach you. He couldn't get his bloody arm low enough. His elbow's at the back of the pad. He's bringing his arm down. He's so massive. Now, that kind of thing causes you problems. He doesn't have to be overly technical because there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. You can't get hold of him, you know?
Yeah.
So, for the guys who do the, and we're going to wrap this episode up in a minute, ladies and gentlemen, but one of the things I would say is that for the guys who have got the opportunity, and we're going back to where we started with the GOAT, the opportunity to transcend weight classes really effectively, and particularly up to the super heavyweight division, you'll often find that they are pretty gifted physically. If you look at John Brzezink's arm, pretty good length of arm, big, powerful hand. You know, big, powerful hand. So he didn't feel massively overshadowed by anybody in the hand and wrist. Famous statement from John recently on one of the In the Presence of Greatness shows. He said, yeah, I was out in China and I gripped up with Levon Saganashvili, and, you know, his hand, it's not that impressive.
Yeah.
It isn't bad, is it? You know, John's like, yeah, it's not, I felt bigger, felt better, you know. Does it all. So anybody doubting that John had a pretty effective hand, that was his honest impression, gripping up Levon shit. He's like, yeah, it's not that.
Troll through my Instagram. There's a photo of my thumb next to John's, and my thumb looks like a little girl's thumb. It's like, wow, okay. And my elbow to fingertip is the same length as John, yet his hand thickness is just double mine.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 51 minutes in to this episode of The Fix, and that wraps it up. I want to say a massive thank you to our resident. In fact, you know what? I'm going to start with Jordan. I'm going to start with Joe. Let's give him pride of place. Do you look at that, look? Knots in cotton. Never has anything so small been so effective.
Where is all that weight, man? Where's the fucking muscles? Where's the muscles?
Got to do that again.
I think I might need to subscribe to you.
Man.
Come on, mate. Give us the front view again.
That's about the best I got.
Look at that.
Sorry, this is the impressive part. That's it. That's all I got. Yeah.
Can you say it's doing the job, mate? It's doing the job. Jordan, thanks for checking in with us, mate, and thanks for coming on the show. Really good to see you. Good to hear that you're making strides, mate. And I expect there'll be big things on the horizon for you.
Oh, mate, glad to be here, glad to be whooping Ryan's ass, and that seems to be good enough progression, so.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything to either of the lads, but, you know, this is a man that neither of you have managed to do anything with, isn't it, recently?
That's true.
That's it, I'm good.
Right, bad, I'm staying in England. I don't want to walk past you, mate. So, thanks very much to Jordan Davis for showing up. I want to say a massive thank you to the Rolls Royce of arm wrestling. If you want to see more from this sexy young man, get yourself over to the Voice of Arm Wrestling. Check out the GOAT review. Check it out. There it is. Chisel. And also thank you to Ryan Blue Bowen, the man down under. Ladies and gents, if you enjoyed The Fix, and this is your first visit to the Supernatural Strength channel, please share, please subscribe, please have it tattooed on your genitalia, and other similar things to let people know that this is a talking point. Stay safe and sound out there, ladies and gents, and until we see you next time, take it easy, Pete.